Hello, everyone. It's John Galante, president of AE Ventures, here again with another Tech Home Builder webcast. And I'm excited today to be talking to Russ Stevens. Did I get that right? Russ is the co-founder of the Association of Professional Builders, which was launched in Australia. And we're going to walk through the company's main offers and what it's been doing for builders over the course of a little less than the last decade, and understand whether that's something our Tech Home Builder viewers might benefit from. So let's kick off, Russ, with just a little bit on the arc of your career and what prompted you to found the association.
Hey, John, thanks so much for inviting me on. Excited to be here. And the Association of Professional Builders started on the 31st of August, 2014. And really that was on the back end of maybe quite a long journey, which I guess started in the early 80s in South London with my first business, which was selling to discount stores from the back of a van, driving around South London. I was 19 at the time when I started that. And over the years, I grew that business to a large distribution business that employed 50 people, turning over $36 million a year. Wow. But I sold that company in 2006 in order to emigrate to Australia with my wife and two kids who were 12 and 13 at the time. When I moved to Australia, the challenge was, well, what do I do? Because in order to get permanent residency, they wouldn't let us just get permanent residency on an investment visa. They were looking for people that were going to start businesses, employ Australians, and those were the conditions. So, well, what am I going to do? And construction looked to be the big thing in Australia. And after spending 25, 30 odd years in an industry that was declining, really, I definitely wanted to go into an industry that was going to be growing. So I looked at construction and I thought, well, yeah, especially if you get in at the high end with custom, that is not a commodity. That should not be price sensitive. And that's really what drew me into in this particular line of work, I guess, at that moment in time.
So you did home building yourself for many years? You had a home building company?
Yeah, got involved with a franchise, so got to learn the industry, especially across the spectrum, really, seeing so many different builders and building companies. Learn all the gotchas, really, the things that were catching builders out. And I guess the one thing that really surprised me was just how price sensitive custom home building was in the mind of the builder. It made no sense that something custom should be price sensitive to me. It was never going to be a commodity, and I thought that's where the better margins were. But I was amazed at what a challenge that was. Eventually, I left that and got into the business of providing contracts for builders. So we would actually put contracts together and then go out, meet the consumer and get those contracts signed. And that was a great experience and a great eye-opener, because we actually got to talk to consumers and ask them why they signed a contract with a particular builder. And it was from that research that we realized that very few consumers ever said it was about price. Yet I asked the same builders, why did they sign with you? And they said, because I was the cheapest. So there was an incredible mismatch there, which really served us well, I think, in really understanding the gaps there for builders.
Yeah. And is that one of the prompts for founding of the Association of Professional Builders, that insight and wanting to spread that message to other builders to help them understand that it's about value and not about price?
Not initially, because we set up a few businesses at that time. So the contract signing business was one. We were also selling safety documentation online to builders. And that led to building websites and doing builders marketing for them, because builders were never that excited about buying safety documentation. But during the conversation, when we'd talk about how business was, and typically they were struggling for leads, so I would look at their website and I'd give them a few tips, and they were a lot more receptive and appreciative
of that. Who could not be excited about safety documentation?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
I'm going to run out tonight and go dig up some safety documentation. That sounds exciting. No, I get it.
In my mind, I was saving them hours of time, but in their mind, I was just taking their money.
Yeah.
But
there's one other thing that would be less boring to them: standard and code.
Yeah. But yeah, it was talking to builders about marketing and then building websites for them, running their marketing, generating leads. That was kind of where it all kicked off. And that was something I did with my daughter, who initially had gone to university, but what was being taught at university about marketing was so out of date that that was why we decided to set that marketing business up together. So we were both involved in that. But it was something curious happened, because after setting that business up and generating lots of leads for lots of builders, there were two camps. There were still builders saying that these leads are rubbish. I was much better off with the referrals that I used to get. These leads don't convert. But there was other builders that were doing extremely well, and it was the same process. So when we investigated further, we found that the guys that were struggling, the difference between those and the guys that were really doing well was the ones that were struggling didn't have a documented sales process. So that was the next natural step for us. We launched a service or a product called Acris Sales Training, and we trained builders on how to develop their own sales process. We also gave them the template. So we took apart the sales process for a residential building company, and we gave them the entire process, because the process had changed in the last 10 years, due to the internet turning the whole buying process on its head. So we documented all that. We gave them this sales process. And then after a year of that, that was about 2013, after about a year of that, we could see that the builders that were following this, again, some were doing well, but others were still struggling. They were doing more work and earning less money, and they were starting to chase cash flow. They were burnt out. They were working long hours, and it became really clear that generating leads for these guys, helping them with their sales process to get the contracts, that was still only part of the picture. We needed to help them with all aspects of their business, including their financials and their operations. And that is why we launched the Association of Professional Builders, which is a business coaching company for residential home builders.
Cool. So it's not a trade association per se. It's not National Association of Home Builders. This is a business coaching and business services company, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. With the name, some people do get confused as to, okay, so you're an association like the NAHB. No, we are very, very different. The reason we have association in our name is so that we could get to the top of the listings when we do sponsorships. So, okay, what can we start with? Association. That sounds good.
So tell me about kind of growth from August 31, 2014 to where we are today. How big is the organization?
So, yes, obviously we started at ground zero, and from there, we spent really the last 7 years developing the services, the products, refining, making them better and better. And during that time, our membership has pretty much doubled year on year. So now we have well over 500 members across Australia, New Zealand, the US and Canada, even the UK. All accessing our systems, our ready-made systems and templates and guides that they can then easily implement, embed into their own building companies. And these things will cover financials, how to read their financials, understand their financials, how to price their jobs, how to calculate the work in progress figure for a building company, how to market their business, the sales process, obviously, we have that all documented along with objection handling, things like that. All in all, we have 43 different systems that a builder can implement straight into their building companies. And it's at a level that any builder in business can afford, because it's less than $2,000 a year to join.
And that's subscription-based content that's available to them. You do have coaching that goes along with the content for folks who want to pay a bit more and get some personalized guidance. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's spot on. So the reason we made membership so affordable was because it gives every builder the opportunity, because most will never have been coached before. So it gives everyone the opportunity to sample the level of information available and get comfortable, really, for no risk. And that level, they do get group coaching as well. They get access to a private members-only Facebook group where they can interact with other professional builders from around the world. They get a new training system uploaded into their portal every month, and they get the training manual posted out to them in the post. However, for the guys that are looking to progress a bit faster now and are looking to grow, we offer private one-to-one mentoring with our team of executive coaches. And for those guys, we have coaches based in Canada, the US, and in Australia. And when a builder wants to progress to that level, they'll meet with the executive coach first. They'll find out if they're a good fit for each other. And then when they start working with a coach, there's a few things that we do a little differently. So it's not just a case of meeting with the coach once a month. We use data-driven decision-making, which I believe sets us apart from almost every other coach or consultancy business in the industry, because we analyze and we look at the KPIs of every individual client. And when we meet with them, we will discuss what's going on in their building company. But more importantly, our coaches look at the data and interpret what is really going on from the data. And what we find is a lot of the time, the discussion asking about what's happening in the building company, the builder will describe the symptoms rather than the cause, but the data allows us to go straight to the cause. And invariably, that leads to a very different diagnosis of where the true problem is in a building company, enabling the coach to direct the builder to work on the real problem rather than the superficial one.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the background of your coaches. I mean, are they MBAs or out of the home building industry or what?
Yeah, they all have exposure to residential construction, but more importantly, they have exposure to running their own business, either running their own companies or working at a very high level in large organizations. Very experienced. Our team of coaches, we have 5 executive coaches at the moment, and we've had over 2,000 applicants for those jobs. So we're very, very particular about the guys that can fill that role, because unless you have hired and fired in a business yourself and understood what it takes to lead a team of people, you're not really in a position to advise other people how to grow their business. And this is something we see a lot of. It's always stuck with me, because I remember when coaching was first really going mainstream, and this was maybe back in the 90s, and didn't even know what business coaching was back then. But I remember some guy coming to me and basically wanting to be my coach. And I was just baffled. And I remember saying to him, well, what qualifies you to coach me? Because he hadn't laid any credentials out. And it was the same old story. He'd read a business book and now was going out and trying to be a coach. And there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, like that. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very clear. You've got to interview a coach that you're considering taking on.
So when you say hiring and firing, it sounds like performance management alongside these systems and processes is a big component.
That's right, because hiring and firing, that means holding people to account. It means leading a team. It's not a pleasant side of the role, but unless you have been through that, you are not really in a position to advise others on making those tough calls. And recruitment is a very, very big factor, in growing a company, because if you get the recruitment wrong, then that can really hinder torpedo your growth very, very quickly.
Yeah. So what does the average coach, what does a typical coaching engagement look like? I mean, are these all custom developed based on the circumstances facing each builder, or do you guys have some standardized approaches for getting folks started? What does that look like? Help me understand.
I get it's a bit of a hybrid of that, because we do have our levels. So when a builder joins our mentoring program, we have 10 levels in order to take them to 10% plus net profit. That is our goal. It's all about net profit with APB. So we never attempt to grow or scale a building company until we've got the financials sorted out first, because all too often building companies can easily be scaled up. In all honesty, that's the easy part, but scaling them up profitably, that's more complex. And we see this time and time again, where residential building companies grow, but then they fall over. And the reason they fall over is they don't have their margins set up correctly before they started growing. So we have 10 levels, so we'll take them through a process. But having said that, that's the fundamental process. But having said that, we still look at every company individually and understand what are their goals, what are their challenges, how can we fix those first, in conjunction with taking them through the levels.
Give me an example, or give me some examples of the levels that you take them through.
Well, the very first
off the tongue. I mean, is that memorized?
The very first level is filling out their KPIs. That is the 101, really, because the more information we have, we always say better information leads to better decisions. So that is always the first thing we
so
set
you're asking them for specific metrics. They may or may not have them, and they may need to do some digging to get them, right?
That's right. Yeah. All the information should be accessible, but it's about building a habit. So we'll be looking at things like advertising spend, marketing qualified leads generated, how many of those leads became an opportunity, went to concept, went to a prelim, went to contract, what was the average contract, what was the margin. And by studying those metrics, we can benchmark them against the industry metrics for their particular niche, and understand where the gap is very quickly. So very important to get that. That is our level 0. Our level 1 is understanding and calculating the work in progress calculation every month, because unless a builder is doing that calculation every month, they cannot produce accurate financial reports. So we teach them how to do that calculation. We give them the calculator, how to get their bookkeeper to put a very simple journal entry into their accounts, which corrects their accounts so that they have an accurate profit and loss and, balance sheet. So they're kind of fundamentals. And from there, then we'll be looking at building enough cash reserves in the company to cover that work in progress liability. And these are all stepping stones.
Cool. So it sounds like you're starting at the end, the most important piece first, which is the financial foundation. And then, when you feel like you've got that set of processes and metrics solid, where are you typically going from there?
Well, from there, we can look at scaling, but where we start will depend on the strengths of the builder and the building company, because some builders may already be getting in a plethora of leads, but they're struggling to convert those leads into contracts. So that we might look at the sales process first, but others, they may just not have the opportunities. So we'll then start with them on their marketing, which generally is where the majority end up starting, because they either need more leads or they just need better quality leads coming in. And we always say that margins are linked to marketing. So, we talk about the industry benchmark for margins. And when we go through the financials, this leads to a mindset change in the builder, because now they understand what they need to be charging. However, it's not as simple as just putting your prices up or your margins up. You've got to do the groundwork that the marketing will support those margins.
Interesting. And, what are some of the common problems with the marketing that you see among the builders that you serve? Is it unclear messaging? Is it unclear structure of the process of marketing? Is it a failure to use up-to-date marketing methods and mix? Or just give me a little bit of a sense for that.
Yeah, it can depend where the builder is at in terms of their journey. For most builders on the smaller end of the revenue scale, for those guys, it's typically they're not targeting a niche. They're doing any type of work that will come their way: new homes, remodeling, decks. They'll literally consider anything, and that makes them an expert in nothing. So that is very hard to get your margins up. So first of all, for those guys, it's all about developing their niche and then using their marketing to convey that and target that particular niche. For other guys that might already be going quite well, their margins, they tend to have a lot of revenue, but their margins are lower, and that's because typically they're not conveying their niche in their marketing. They might be doing a lot of the same work, but their marketing is all about getting their name out there, and it's traditional advertising. They might be very reliant on referrals because they've established their name over the years, but what we've seen in the last 10 years is marketing has changed, and it's all about content marketing now, which is providing information. And that's because people no longer go to a builder or a couple of builders and have a discussion about their project. They actually research online first. So in order for builders to get in front of these consumers before they're having conversations with other builders, they need to be providers of information, which is what we call content marketing. So it's putting blog articles out there, information videos out there, being a provider of information, because that way you can engage the consumer earlier in the buying process and take them out the market. And that is how you can increase your margins.
What about optimizing per unit revenues? I mean, is there a lot of sales coaching on how to it's mostly custom builders, right? So I assume there's a lot of opportunity for personalization and sales of options, et cetera. What kind of work do you do with builders in that area?
In terms of their sales process with the consumer to optimize that process?
Yeah, once I got somebody to, yes, I want to work with you, how do you get that to be great for the client, but also optimizing the dollars per client? Do you do work with builders in that realm as well?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because the whole ethos of the Association of Professional Builders is to improve the construction industry for both builders and consumers. So although I've been talking about margins and raising margins, that's because in order to provide a more professional service to consumers, you have to have decent margins, because without decent margins, you can't provide the service and the systems that will improve that experience. And as part of that training, there's a couple of key areas. First of all, it is the sales process, because if the builder does not have a process for selling, he'll end up following the buyer's process for buying, and that's never a good situation for either party. So very important.
Take the steering wheel.
Absolutely right. Yes. Take control and lead. And when you have that process, you're able to deliver a far better experience to the consumer. Another key aspect is the handover process, which we've really modeled on the car industry. You know, you can buy a new car and have a fantastic experience collecting that car from the car dealership. But in all too many cases, when a consumer takes the keys for a new home, they're either got to go to the office and pick them up, or they'll be dropped in a letterbox. There's no proper handover at all. So we documented the whole process for builders so that they can deliver a memorable handover experience, from the orientation, the ambience with the sound and the smells in the place, the red carpet, the cutting the ribbon, the photographs, the champagne. It's a whole experience that will leave a client a raving fan, which of course leads to more referrals for the builder.
Cool. How'd you cook all of that up? Is it just basically finding best practices among the builders that you're working with, or is your daughter's a marketing genius, an experiential marketing genius? It sounds like she's part of the brain trust on this, or was at least initially.
Yeah, my daughter is exceptional at marketing, but also operations. Very, very experienced in running teams, so understands operations inside out. But what we also have is a very high level, small group of builders that we work with very closely at a boardroom level. And by really digging deep into their building companies and uncovering challenges that they're having, this is how we're able to further develop our product, by overcoming those challenges, by creating a system and documenting it. Yeah. We're then able to offer that to all of our members as part of their membership. And that's what leads to these further improvements. And being able to get these high-level clients to adopt those systems early and test them means that we're going out to all of our members with a proven process and system.
These coaching engagements, which sound very rigorous and valuable, what kind of cost? I'm sure there's a range, but give me a sense of the range of costs that a builder member would incur for the custom coaching side of things. What could it run from at a minimum to a maximum?
Well, when a builder decides to embark on a private mentoring program, I mean, that level of attention and hand-holding obviously isn't cheap. It takes a lot of time, and it's not just the time that the coach meets with the builder. They're doing preparation beforehand as well. So it is a big commitment. It is a big investment. The membership is at a level that anyone can easily afford and jump in and get a feel. But when they decide to go into mentoring, they are looking at an investment of $36,000 a year. However, that is like any investment, there's going to be a return on that. And the returns that they get are far better than they can get in the stock market or even crypto, I would say, because when you invest in yourself, the return is exponential over a 12-month period, but then you can't unlearn this stuff. It's with you for the rest of your career.
Do you have anecdotal evidence or other metrics that you've collected over time on the ROI side of things for the private coaching or private mentoring, I think you called it?
Yeah. Now, I think one of the most important metrics for proof is the length of time that builders stay with us. Initially, they sign up for 12 months. That's a commitment that they make. But we have builders that have been in this program for 5, even 6 years. And the average time span is 3 years, whereas the average for business coaching is between 3 and 5 months. So I think that kind of demonstrates proof in the systems working for builders. But on top of that, more specifically, we have builders. There's a couple that spring to mind because we've just done case studies with them. We have a guy called Ty Alro here in Australia who came to us when his business was doing 3 million and he was searching for answers. He's now on his way to getting close to $60 million this year. And when you hear his story, he will attribute that to working with the Association of Professional Builders. Over in California, we have Jim Pitcher, CRC Homes. And he was working 60 to 80 hours a week doing everything himself when his research brought the APB up on his radar. And since working with the APB, he's not only been able to reduce his hours, but again, he has quadrupled his business, employed a lot more staff, which obviously you need to do if you're going to reduce your hours, but grown the business as well profitably.
Those are great success stories. Congratulations on that to you and the clients. So final question. Why should a red-blooded American builder follow the guidance of an Aussie?
Well, I guess that would depend on what their goals are, because this isn't for everyone. Not everyone wants to grow their building companies, and a lot of builders believe that growing their building company will just lead to more stress and more work. That's not quite true. It's actually the reverse. The bigger you get, you can scale down. So if you are looking for a better way of doing things, all we can do is show you what other builders are doing that are in the same industry as you. They've got very similar businesses, and we can show you exactly what they're doing to work less hours and earn more money from the work that they are doing.
Well, how do builders start this conversation with you? How does that go? Is it a kind of hour long get to know each other? Do you do a deep dive presentation? What does that look like in terms of the next step?
In our experience, builders like to do a bit of research first. And the best place I would say to do research is to go to Amazon and to buy the book Professional Builders Secrets. This was a book that Sky and myself, Sky, my co-founder at the Association of Professional Builders, and myself wrote. And we launched just a few months ago. So the book is available on Amazon. They can buy that book. And inside that book, we take them through the process for marketing, for sales, financials, and operations for a building company. And that is a great place to start.
And they read that and they want more info, and they wanted somebody to help them do it. Then they go to your website and they ask you for a conversation, right?
Absolutely. Go to the Association of Professional Builders. There's a lot of information on there. There's a lot of free downloads. And there's even a video where they can take a look behind the scenes and see exactly what the members of the Association of Professional Builders are enjoying right now.
Cool. Russ, thanks so much for getting up early to talk with me. You're, 13 hours behind or ahead of me, but I appreciate the early morning conversation for you. Sounds like you've really not only thought through, but lived through a lot of the lessons that you've put together to share with builders and that you can bring to bear with these mentoring engagements. Appreciate you sharing the information, and builders, check it out. Thanks.
Thanks so much, John. It's been fantastic chatting with you.